Hi everyone, let's talk about Welcome to New Vegas. So I absolutely love roll and write games, and Welcome to is one of my favourites. I was evangelizing about that when it first came out, and that was the same basic game of, in there it was just 3 streets of neighbourhoods, same rules for putting the numbers in ascending order, leaving gaps, all of that stuff, but different bonuses, different ways of scoring here. So with Welcome to New Vegas, it takes that core concept of 3 cards on display showing numbers and giving you different bonuses, and just runs with it. Instead of just doing these streets, they are forming their American blocks. So they help to form the basis for the avenues, completing columns of them, as well as trying to put things in the rows. All sorts of brand new extras, using those blocks to move a limo around to drive past certain bonuses but be penalised if it doesn't come back in time. The top row gets you the golf courses as long as you don't break your adjacency. As soon as you've broken your adjacency, you lose a load of golf courses in that direction. It's got the improvements still, but there's an even wider array of what you can improve. There are bonuses for having runs of odd or even numbers in each of the streets, as well as a bonus for being the person with the longest of those streaks in each of the streets. There is just so much. There's bonuses that now come from this administration track that is also, a tracker for the end of the game. There's just so much in this game, to the point where I would absolutely agree with the rulebook that it's worth being familiar with Welcome to before you play this. This isn't the one to play first, because it is one of those roll and writes where, if you saw the playthrough and you can play, it's worth watching. You can't really play along with it because of the extra competition for stuff. You could play along with it, I'm not stopping you, but there is a lot more kind of racing between the players live, rather than just it being we flip these things, everybody does all of this. That is how we play, but there is a race for the projects and the avenues and the hotels this time as well. But if you watch the playthrough, there is a lot of explanation up front as to what all of this stuff does, and you do have to do that with a lot of roll and writes. It's the same for Demeter. There's probably more to explain in this than there was in Demeter, but you've got to explain what all of the various bonuses do, what all of these various interconnecting things do, right at the start before anybody does anything. It's not like in a lot of games when teaching, you can start out with just explaining these basics and then just do something, and we'll explain more as we go along. In these roll and writes, you need to know all of these different bonuses that can come up as and when they do. So there is a lot to take on up front, and I can see that putting people off with the amount that would need to be explained. Although you could just say this is a learning game, we're just going to explain the bonuses that are visible, and then when we see some more, I'll explain what the others do. You might not make optimal moves, but it'll be easier to learn the game. But having said all of that, once you get past that just initial speed bump of learning all of these new functions that are more involved, are more complicated than the things that were in Welcome to. I absolutely love the kind of extra depth that is in all of this stuff. You could always go for a load of different avenues in this, and there are some similarities, with the pools are now replaced by the shows, but you've got the columns to fill up with points. You've got this whole extra element of debt in the game that you have to build some of the casinos, and if you never build them, they don't interrupt your streaks, but they're going to interrupt you being eligible for avenue scoring and stuff. But then once you do build them, they incur debt, and certain other things like starting to build the show columns will incur debt. And if you use the bonus where you get to duplicate things, that used to be a bonus on the cards in original Welcome to the BIS bonus, but now it's a special bonus from the inauguration track. And so you can incur debt from that, and you can get basically money from the mob by driving past their particular casinos in your limo. There is a nice little element at the beginning of the game of hidden information that players can decide whether to be generous and take out loans or be stingy and not do it. And based on what the majority has chosen at the end of the game, that determines how many bundles of cash people are going to get at the end. And so it's about a balance. You can go stingy, and as long as you can build as many casinos as you like, if you fill them with casinos, you build them and then actually open them by putting a number in them. as long as you've opened them, you're not going to get that debt. So there's a lovely little balancing act between that as well. And between a load of the different elements, between the limo, how far am I going to go out? How many opportunities am I going to get to do this? Am I going to use, one of the bonuses is, pretend that any bonus has come out on the cards, and am I really going to go for a massive journey on the limos here and try and get back, because it's for every step that you miss, it's 10 points off your total. But in the improvements, you can reduce that penalty. So do you go for a ridiculous limo journey with no intention of getting anywhere near back to the start, because you can reduce your penalty all the way down to -1 point per step. So the points you've earned from being out there probably far outweigh the penalties for it. I think it all works together beautifully as it did in Welcome To, but I really like this kind of extra weight, this extra depth to it. It does make it take longer. It does make it, a more, imposing listen, a more imposing teach and learn. But once it is past that, I think it really flies. I still think it stands beside Welcome To. It doesn't completely replace it. I can definitely see times where I would just like to go back to Welcome To, and Welcome To's got all of its various pads now as well. Have I got the Halloween one? I think we should do the Halloween one if I bought that. If there's time to do a playthrough for it before the big day. But yeah, I think for a kind of more involved, meatier experience, I think Welcome to New Vegas is a fantastic addition to the series, a fantastic evolution of it, and I can't wait to see what they come up with future installments, providing that there is some, but hopefully there will be. Anyway, ignore what I said though. Watch the playthrough and decide from that. I'm going to go now. Bye.